If you ask me what my favourite movie studio is, I'd have to say Hammer. Yes, it's on life support, only kept alive thanks to a distribution deal with Studio Canal, but in its 86-year history, it delivered horror, fantasy, science fiction, crime, suspense, war and comedy movies, often on very limited budgets, but always with a tradesman-like honesty that I've always respected. However, the big brash productions from Hammer get all the love. Your vampires, Frankenstein, mummies, werewolves, and Reg Varney's On the Buses movies. But there are some great smaller films, usually in black and white, which had style, guts, and interesting scripts, good direction, and good actors. So I'm going to throw 10 of them at you, in 2 lots of 5 movies, and you can tell me what you think. This tight little thriller starts out with the rape of a teenage girl walking home from school, and the revenge taken on her attacker by her father, who is subsequently put into an asylum. 4 years later, a young artist, played by Kerwin Matthews, meets the father's wife and the assaulted daughter, who's now an adult. He forms a relationship with the wife, played by Nadia Gray, who people might remember best for the strip tease at the end of La Dolce Vita. The wife, Eve, convinces Jeff the artist to help her spring her husband from the asylum, but she has some hidden motives, and a couple of good plot twists follow. This movie looks lovely. It was filmed in the beautiful Camargue region, La Rhone Delta in the south of France, and the suspense builds well, and never in movie history has a blowtorch looked more menacing. I love a good diesel punk spaceship, and this movie has a great one. 3-stage rocket with fins, lots of old-fashioned instruments with levers and dials, and the spacesuits look like Halloween costumes. Throw into the mix a potential double murder with the bodies possibly disposed of in the first ever artificial satellite, and there's a cool detective too, so I'm there. Spaceways was based on Charles Eric Main's radio play, and it stars US import Howard Duff, who was blacklisted in the US at the time the movie was made, playing Steve Mitchell, the chief engineer of a British space program, who was unhappily married to a woman called Vanessa, played by Cecile Chevreau, who was having an affair with one of his colleagues, Dr. Philip Crenshaw. Steve, meanwhile, is attracted to one of the project's mathematicians, Lisa, played by Eva Bartok, so there's a lot of soap opera in this movie as well. When Vanessa and Philip disappear from the tightly locked down base and the rocket is launched, it's suspected that the bodies of the couple are in the rocket orbiting the Earth. This is where we're introduced to an intelligent agent called Smith, played by Alan Wheatley, who is sent to investigate the disappearance. For the middle part of the film, Smith becomes the protagonist. He's smart, he's sneaky and perceptive, and the actor, Alan Wheatley, was actually an industrial psychologist before he became an actor. As Smith investigates the possible murder, a second mission designed to return the first rocket to Earth is planned and launched. The movie's clumsy in some ways, but it's quite entertaining. We get the usual stock footage of rockets that are taking off from the Earth that don't exactly look like the plans we see on the wall or the model we see on the launch pad. But the movie's aided by Terence Fisher directing. He went on to helm many of the more famous Hammer films later in the 50s and into the 60s and 70s. Spaceways is very much a B picture. Go into it with that knowledge and you'll have a good time watching it. I can't think of another movie that is as far ahead of its time as Never Take Sweets from a Stranger. There are only 2 other mainstream films of the 1960s that I can recall that even attempted to talk about child sexual abuse, and both of those didn't approach the subject with anywhere near the impact of this movie. An English couple, played by Patrick Allen and Gwen Watford, have moved to a small Canadian town. When they find out that their 9-year-old daughter has been dancing naked for the elderly father of the local powerful Alderberry family, who is clearly grooming her, they decide to go to the police.
Well, now you mention it, just what did happen to your child? As far as I can see, nothing very much.
Alderberry Sr.'s son objects, claiming his father is innocent, and when the case does come to court, his ruthless lawyer, played by Niall McGuinness from Curse of the Demon, sadistically interrogates young Jane, played by Janetta Faye. This movie doesn't pull any punches, it's blunt. It shows how the legal and social systems of the time were useless to protect children from well-heeled predators. And it sticks the landing with a terrifying climax that I can remember scared the hell out of me when I first saw it as a child. It's pretty clear from the movie that Alderberry Sr. suffers from dementia, but his predatory nature has been known to the townspeople for decades and predates that infirmity. Because his family has an economic stranglehold on the town, nothing serious is ever done about his crimes. Played by Felix Aylmer, an actor better known for more benign characters, Elderberry Sr. is a shambling horror more frightening than Christopher Lee's Mummy. The production plays it smart with his character too. In the whole film, he never speaks a word. At the time it was released, this movie was panned because the subject matter was seen as sordid and distasteful. There was a strong societal taboo in all Western countries against discussing, even in fictional terms, sexual violence against children. We can now speculate on why that taboo existed at the time. Recent DVD releases of the film have led to a re-evaluation of Never Take Sweets from a Stranger. Its blunt honesty was half a century ahead of the world around it. In some ways, this may be the best Hammer film ever made because it had the guts to speak out against the unspeakable. This film demands our respect. And one of the most confronting aspects of it is that the courtroom cross-examination is more terrifying than the predator himself. Directed by Guy Green with a script by, among others, Jimmy Sangster, The Snorkel is based on a story by Anthony Dawson, the guy who played Professor Dent in Dr. No. It's a tight little murder tale starring Peter Van Eyck, Better St. John and Mandy Miller. And right from the start we see the killer, Decker, played by Peter Van Eyck, murder his wife. We see how he fakes her suicide with a neat twist on a locked room mystery using the titular device. And right from the start the film establishes Decker as a cold, manipulative and persuasive sociopath. When his wife's daughter Candy and her older companion Jean return to the villa in Italy where the murder occurs, Candy is convinced, in spite of the evidence to the contrary, that her mother didn't kill herself. At first nobody believes her because she's a teenage girl, but the plot evolves into a battle of wits between Decker and Candy, which puts the girl into existential danger. Peter Van Eyck is very good as the meticulous murderer Decker, and Better St. John as a carer who is increasingly mesmerised by the charming killer is great, and Mandy Miller's Candy is annoying at times, but she settles into the role, ultimately becoming a solid antagonist to Decker. If you've seen The Snorkel, let me know whether you do what Candy does at the ending or not. There's an interesting moral question in this film, and you should check it out. Made in the same year as Spaceways, this curious little movie raises some ethical questions. It raises a lot of them, about scientific experimentation and human rights, all on a £25,000 budget. James Hayter plays Doc, the town doctor, who breaks the fourth wall immediately and tells us the tale of three young people he's known since their childhood. Bill, Robin and Lena. When Bill's parents die, Doc adopts him and he grows up to be a scientific genius, and Robin, his good technical assistant. Their childhood friend Lena goes away and comes back as an adult in the form of Barbara Payton. Bill develops a revolutionary device, a machine that can duplicate anything put inside it. At the point of their success, the love triangle between Robin, Lena and Bill breaks as Robin and Lena get engaged. Bill gets the sads until he comes up with a really dumb, selfish, horribly unethical idea. He duplicates Lena. This movie's really screwed up in so many ways from a modern point of view. It has women as trophies. It makes the working class kid from a bad home the bad one, while the privileged guy with all the advantages gets a happy ever after. It's okay with wiping someone's memory with electroshock therapy. This one hasn't aged well from a societal viewpoint, but it tells its story really well on a low budget. And Barbara Payton, who had a horrible real life, is solid as Lena and her doppelganger Helen. James Hayter's avuncular Doc is a bit too amiable when he should be saying WTF to Bill 2 or 3 times during the movie. And Stephen Murray and John Van Eysen, who later went on to play Jonathan Harker in the first Christopher Lee Dracula movie, are serviceable as the friends turned romantic rivals, but they're not much better than that. Seen through modern eyes, Four-Sided Triangle is a story about a bucolic village nightmare. It's a cautionary tale about toxic masculinity, but in 1953 people didn't see it like that, which makes it even more interesting. So there's the first 5 of my 10 Hammer Hidden Gems. Thank you very much for watching, and if you'd like to, please consider subscribing, hitting the notification bell and giving it a thumbs up. And let me know what your favourite Hammer obscurities are, because there are a lot of them out there, and some of them are better than the things that really get a lot of love. So as always, watch some good movies, watch some bad movies, watch some Hammer movies, and I'll catch you next time.